on the way.
BoogeyMan Ben coming round the bend. Is BoogeyMan Ben? Is BoogeyMan Ben?
Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends. Thanks so much for dropping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. This will be my last video, obviously, of 2022. We are on the final day of the year, and what a year it has been. I want to thank everyone for helping make this one of the most successful years for the channel. Back in February, I hit 4,000 subscribers, and now I'm getting closer to 5,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for me. Like I said, I do this all for fun. I've had some segments that have done exceptionally well this year, especially the Quiet Little Tributes to Salem's Lot. They have just blown everything out of the water, but also my Reworking the Lot segments, talking about what information I could dig up on the Salem's Lot remake. Who knows when that is coming out. I've kind of just lost hope about that a little bit, because I just feel like we're not getting any information outside of, how long the runtime is. It's under 2 hours. We know it's going to be rated R. It's just getting a little frustrating. But back to what I wanted to say is that I just want to thank everyone for the support. I've met some amazing people through this platform. And this year, I partnered up a lot with my friend Danny Evans and our friend Sam Straub. We have some really cool stuff planned for 2023 that I'm not going to divulge at this point, but just know that what's coming in the new year is going to be awesome, and I'm so excited about it. If this year was a big year for Salem's Lot stuff, next year is going to be big, but it's also going to be a big year for Psycho 2. Next year is going to be the 40th anniversary of Psycho 2, and I am going to be doing a lot on that film. We have some really big retrospectives coming up for 40th anniversaries of movies. Cujo, we have Christine, we have Amityville 3D, and I know a lot of people don't like that film, but I actually saw Amityville 3D in the movie theater, and I have some really strong recollections of seeing that movie in 3D with my dad. So that's something I'm going to talk about. That's later in the year, because it came out in the fall of 1983. But I'm also going to be doing more of the tributes to Salem's Lot. It's probably going to take a little bit of a break. We have a new Beverly Hills Cop that's coming out. I'm really excited about that. That's one of my favorite non-horror franchises of all time. I was lucky enough to recently see the pilot for the Beverly Hills Cop television series, which was supposed to come out 10 years ago. It was supposed to come out in 2013. It was directed by Barry Levinson, starring Brandon T. Jackson as Aaron Foley, and featured Eddie Murphy in a cameo in his first time playing Axel Foley in 19 years. I was able to watch that recently, and I will be doing a review on that at the beginning of 2023. I wanted to do it, this week, but I just didn't have the opportunity to do it. But that is something people can look forward to. I also am going to be doing more book reviews and comic book reviews. I just recently got the second issue of Fright Night 2. Along this with Fright Night Origins, the book that he wrote that is kind of like an extension. It's almost like a bigger version of the original Fright Night film and the characters. I'm going to be doing a review on that book, as well as issue number 2. I did a review on issue number 1 in January of this year. It took another year for it almost took another year for the second issue to come out. I don't understand why. But I'm really looking forward to, I have read this, and I'm looking forward to do a review on this in the new year. The other thing I will be talking about in the new year is the Creepshow comic book series. I am missing issue number 2 right now, but I did get issue 3. I have read issue 1 and 3. I'm going to be talking about these, doing a segment on the Creepshow comic book series in the new year. I think that's going to be really exciting. Speaking of Creepshow, I did get a new collectible that I'm going to showcase. This is something I was looking for. Got it with Christmas money, found it at FYE, and it is the 40th anniversary NECA Ultimate Creep figure. This will be remaining in the package. It does have the 40th, it says the 40th anniversary of Creepshow. This is really cool. Creepshow, like I said, it was a huge part of my childhood. I did a retrospective on it back in November. Yeah, this is really cool, and I will showcase this up close at the end of the segment. But yeah, this is fantastic. It has 3 different head sculpts you can switch out. It has the Creepshow comic, the jack-o'-lantern that was in Billy's house, and then of course the candle right there. So really, really cool. I was really happy to find this one. I found it at FYE. It was $44.99, but yeah, was really stoked to find that one. So here we are in the lounge, and I just want to also say, like, I'm really happy with the way this room came together. If you guys see some of my earlier videos, especially when the pandemic started and I was working from home a lot, I started doing quite a few videos in this room. And back then it was just sort of like a blank wall with a couple of concert posters and stuff like that, but it's really taken on a life of its own. So I'm really happy with the way this room looks now, and I like to do still like to do a lot of my movie reviews and things like that in here. Try to use both spaces. Yeah, this was a great year. I mean, I really had a hard time putting together this top 10 list. And some films, you know, that maybe I rated like lower have grown on me with repeat viewings. So you might see a film or two films, or, you know, something that maybe when I did review it, I gave it maybe a lower review than some other films that might not be showing up. It's just because I went back and revisited some of these films. And, you know, I'll give some honorable mentions that are not horror films. Paul Solid's movie Clean is probably my favorite movie of the year. And I know that there's some people that don't like Adrian Brody, but I thought that movie was brilliant. And like I said in my review, I just love that it was a character piece. And I just, I don't know why. I watched it when I was really sick with COVID, and I had wanted to see it earlier in the year because it came out earlier this year, but it was a very limited release, and I knew that eventually it would find its way onto streaming. Yeah, I've watched that film like 7 times, and every time I watch it, I just like it even more. And the soundtrack is brilliant. It's a fantastic film. I definitely recommend people checking it out. Another film that I watched this year, and I caught this one Last Seen Alive with Gerard Butler. It's a great film. I definitely recommend people checking it out. It is on Netflix. Give this one a watch, just like Clean. 2 of my favorite movies this year. Another honorable mention that I think is getting a lot of shit this year is The Munsters. Didn't make my top 10, but I really think people are being overly hard on this one. Again, it's just my opinion. I did a review on it. I had fun with it. You know, I just feel like Rob Zombie either, you know, has his fan base and people love everything he does, and then there's this huge fan base that just wants to trash everything he does, no matter what he does. And yes, you know, he does his own writing. Sometimes it doesn't work. There was some comedy in this that didn't work, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And I think everybody, including Sherry Moon Zombie, who I think is a lovely person and gets a lot of unfair attack from critics because she is Rob Zombie's wife. I think she did a great job as Lily, just like Dan Roebuck did a fantastic job as Grandpa, or the Count, because they don't have any kids yet, and this is kind of a prequel. And Jeff Daniel Phillips I thought was brilliant as Herman. A lot of people are saying his voice is too high-pitched. There's a great interview with him on Thing with Two Heads podcast with Chris Nelson and Sean Clark, and he talks about why he played Herman the way he did, and I thought that was really brilliant. So I'll put a link down below to that. You guys can check that out. Jeff Daniel Phillips is awesome, and I had fun with this film. Another one, this is one that I just picked up recently, and I got it. I had wanted to see it in the movie theater, and I didn't get to see it. It came out in late February, and that is Studio 666, the Foo Fighters horror film. Directed by B.J. McDonnell, who did Hatchet 3. We lost Taylor Hawkins this year, which was devastating to me because I'm a big Foo Fighters fan and I'm a huge fan of his skills. I've always wanted to be a drummer. It's one instrument I always wanted to play as a kid, and never had the opportunity because my mom and I lived in a small condo. We didn't have a space for a drum set, but I thought he was a brilliant drummer, and I think the band is fantastic. And it's goofy and silly, and some of the dialogue is weird, but it was so much fun to watch, and I just had a fun time. And finally, another movie I want to talk about that's not a horror film, but was one of my favorite films this year, and that is The Bat. I think Matt Reeves did a brilliant job on this, as did Robert Pattinson as the Dark Knight and Bruce Wayne. Also, you had Paul Dano as the Riddler. You had Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and of course, the amazing Colin Farrell as the Penguin. I love this film. It's absolutely fantastic. It wasn't a horror film. If it was, I would have put it into my top 10, but it is one of my favorite movies. So now I'm going to go through my top 10 horror films of 2022, and it was a packed year. There was a lot of great films that came out this year, and there was some that just didn't make my top 10. For my first one I'm going to talk about, if I have the Blu-ray, I'm going to showcase it. This is one I got through Mod Media Group because it's one that's only available through Netflix. Came out in February, came out on February 18th, and that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. directed by David Blue Garcia, of course produced and written by Fede Alvarez, and featuring Mark Burnham as the new Leatherface. I know a lot of people either love or hate this film. I know a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre purists that absolutely hate it, but I actually really liked it. Just the thing about this film that didn't work for me was the Sally Hardesty portion of it. I didn't really feel like that element was needed. I wish that would have been taken out, and this might have even been higher on my list. But yeah, I loved seeing Leatherface like destroy a bus full of millennials and Gen Zers. I thought it was a lot of fun. Again, you know, not to be taken seriously. It was fun. It was gory. We actually got to see, you know, a lot of really cool set pieces. But yeah, number 10 for me is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. The next one for me is going to be Smile. This, of course, was directed by Parker Finn, featuring Saucy Bacon, Kyle Gallner, Cal Penn. And I just thought it was really, this was the movie that really kind of just got under my skin. It really creeped me out. But I can't wait to buy it and watch it again. Number 9 for me will be Smile. Number 8 for me is going to be The Black Phone. Scott Derrickson, C. Robert Cargill. Love Sinister. Sinister being one of my favorite horror films of all time. This one was fantastic. I loved the cast in this. Ethan Hawke was terrifying and terrific, playing his first villain. And just the way the mask looked and the 70s setting worked beautifully. I liked it. Just felt like the 70s. So Mason Thames as Finney and Madeline McGraw as Gwen. They were both amazing. Just blew me away with how just their dramatic range, being two actors I've never seen in anything before. But yeah, I can't recommend this film enough. I hope they don't make a sequel. I think it's perfect as a standalone. But yeah, I love The Black Phone. It's number 8 on my top 10. Number 7 on my list is going to be Violent Night, directed by Tommy Wirkola, starring David Harbour as Santa, also featuring John Leguizamo, Beverly D'Angelo. I was blown away by this film. Now, this film came out the week that I got COVID, so I couldn't go see it in the movie theater, but lucky for me, it became available on streaming right before Christmas. I bought it off of iTunes. We watched it on Christmas Eve, and I was just grinning from ear to ear. It features so many great homages to movies like Home Alone and Die Hard. Die Hard 2. It was so much fun, and I love David Harbour, not only from just Stranger Things, but I've seen him in a lot of great other films, like just a feu off the top of my head was like Revolutionary Road, The Equalizer. He's fantastic, and this is going to be a yearly tradition to watch this film. We watched it Christmas Eve, and then we took it over to my in-laws on Christmas Day and watched it. Everybody loved it. I'm mad I didn't get to see it in the movie theater, but I'm so glad that I own it. I can't wait to buy it on Blu-ray. Yes, it was fantastic. Definitely recommend it if people haven't seen it. Number 7 for me will be Violent Night. And number 6 for me is going to be Halloween Kills. I think a very polarizing film. We've seen just the toxicity in the horror community this year because of people not being happy with this film. I've already given my 2 cents. I've done several videos about the film, and not only like a breakdown of how I would rank the Halloween films and my review of it, but also just talking about toxic fan culture and just, you know, what I heard some YouTubers went through that either liked the film or didn't like the film. I think we need to rein it in a little bit. It's a movie. Yes, it wasn't what some people wanted. In fact, a large percentage of it is not what people wanted, but I enjoyed it because it was different. And the more that I've watched it at least 5 times. I like the character of Corey Cunningham, and I think that it was interesting to see, you know, the whole concept about this film series has been evil and how evil manifests itself. And I thought it was interesting the way they did it. Like I said, does it work 100%? No, it is kind of strange to bring in a new character for the last film. I think it might have been better if they would have, you know, maybe introduced Corey in one of the other films, but because they decided to shift gears a little bit and rewrite this one during the pandemic, and not tie it in so closely to Halloween Kills, because my understanding is 2018 Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends were all supposed to take place on one night, and I think that would have been really, really cool if they could have done that. But yeah, they didn't do it, but I appreciate it. I'm glad they tried something different, and we are going to get another Michael Myers film. It is inevitable. It will happen. The movies have always been successful, and another director and another creator are going to take this and do something different with it. But for now, I'm satisfied with this one. Number 6 for me, Halloween Ends. Number 5 for me is going to be Terrifier 2. Just got this, again, one I wanted to see in the movie theater, but October was a crazy month and I didn't get a chance to see it. I met David Howard Thornton back in 2019. I really loved the original Terrifier. A lot of people didn't. There was it was kind of, again, one of those polarizing films where they thought, it didn't really have a lot of story outside of David Howard Thornton's amazing performance. There wasn't a lot there, whereas this one elevates everything. I do think this is a stronger film than the original Terrifier, which I gave a fantastic review to, but I love this one just as much. In fact, in some ways more. I think it's just it is, again, overly brutal. There's some really brutal moments in it. Maybe not as much as like the scene in the original one, because I just wasn't expecting it, where he split the woman down the middle. But there are some moments in this that I was like clutching my face, going, "God damn!" It was way brutal, and I'm so happy that this film has found the success it has. A movie that cost $250,000 to make to gross over $12 million worldwide is pretty fucking incredible. And I'm just so happy for the director, Damon Leone. I'm so happy for David Howard Thornton. I can't wait to see what they do with the third one. I heard that the third one's going to be more in tone with the Art the Clown short that was on All Hallows Eve. I just saw something recently about that. So yeah, I can't wait to see where they go with this character next. Like, this is the next horror icon. Art the Clown is here to stay, and I can't wait to see what these filmmakers do next. So number 5 for me is going to be Terrifier 2. Number 4 for me is going to be Pearl. I love Ty West. I was a fan of his work before this. I was a fan of the movie The Sacrament, The Innkeepers. I need to watch House of the Devil again. The first time I watched it, I didn't really get it, but I need to check that one out again. That one's hard to find. But Mia Goth is just blowing me away. And this was a really just complete polar opposite in terms of tone and style than X. We got 2 films, from Ty West in the same universe, and this one was tonally just so different, very almost like Wizard of Oz like. So this takes place like 60 years before the events of X. It takes place in 1918 during World War I. And I loved the heart in this film, and I think Mia Goth really showed her range in this film. You really get to see this tormented woman that we barely got to know in X, because at that point, she's just this psychopath. But in this, you see what drove her to become what she eventually became, and there's moments that it's very sad. But again, just a powerhouse performance from Mia Goth. Ty West is just knocking out of the park. I can't wait to see Maxine, which is coming out next year, which is going to be a sequel to X. Absolutely fantastic film. Now, number 2 on my list for this year is going to be X. I've watched this one a few more times than Pearl. I've seen this one about 5 again. Fantastic cast. Martin Henderson is an actor I've always loved. Brittany Snow is fantastic. I thought Kid Cudi was great in it. And of course, Mia Goth, who I had only known at this point from Cure for Wellness, which came out in 2017. That, of course, was directed by Gore Verbinski and starred Dane DeHaan. But that was the only other thing I knew her from. So she just knocked my socks off in this, playing 2 parts. And I didn't realize that she was playing the older version of Pearl as well as Maxine. And the woman is just a powerhouse. And I cannot wait to see what she does in the follow-up to this. Both of these films are just 2 of my favorite horror films, and I might just do a marathon this weekend and watch both of them back to back. Like I said, I can't wait till the next one comes out. But yeah, X is fantastic. There's some terrific gory moments in it. I love the setup. It's almost like I've always said, it's kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Boogie Nights. That's just kind of the vibe it has. But everybody in it brings their A game. The ending is shocking. It's a great film. And I can't wait to see what Ty West does next with the follow-up. So yeah, number 3 for me is going to be X. For number 2 on my list, it's going to be Jordan Peele's Nope. There's a backlash against this film that I'm not really understanding, but again, everybody, watches something and comes away with their own opinion. I think this movie's brilliant. I've watched it several more times since I got the Blu-ray. There's just something about this film that reminds me of movies like Jaws. And I think the alien creature, which they titled Jean Jacket, is really scary. And there's some really moments in this film, either it's by sound design or visual, that just disturb me. I think Daniel Kaluuya and even Keke Palmer, who I didn't really care about in the first time I watched it, I've grown to really appreciate her character. I really love their dynamic together. I thought Michael Wincott was fantastic in it. Of course, Stephen Yeun, I'm a huge fan of from The Walking Dead. Everybody in this is fantastic, and this is a fantastic Blu-ray release as well. That shows a lot of what on behind the scenes, how they designed the alien creature. I know some people had problems with the way it looked, but I thought it was really interesting, and I loved seeing it in the movie theater. I loved watching it here on home video or on Blu-ray, and it's just a film that's getting more and more popular with me, and I had a hard time putting this as my second favorite of the year because for a long time it was the first. But for right now, number 2 on my list is going to be Jordan Peele's Nope. I can't wait to see what he does next. And number 1 for me is going to be Barbarian. This film, I specifically stayed away from all reviews of it until I got to see it, and I didn't get to see it until the very end of September. My wife and I went on a Thursday night. There wasn't a lot of people in the movie theater when we went. I'm a huge fan of Justin Long. I'm a huge fan of Bill Skarsgård, of course, from playing Pennywise, and I was just curious what this movie was going to entail. And the thing about Barbarian that just really has gotten to me is just that it is one of those things that you think you have a handle on where the story is going, and it goes a completely different direction. And I felt like that each time something happened, and then it kind of shifts gears on you, and I'm going, wait, what's going on now? Who's this? And I just thought it was brilliant. If you haven't seen the film, I know it's on HBO Max. I've watched it several times. I've heard rumors that it's not getting a physical media release, and I hope that's not the case, because I want to have it in my collection. I'm a physical media guy, and I always will be. Everybody in it does a great job, and it was one of my biggest surprises of an already awesome year for horror films. So yeah, number 1 for me will be Barbarian, directed by Zach Krieger. The last thing I want to showcase before I say goodnight and wish everyone the best is I bought this. This was a Christmas present from my mom. It was something I saw on eBay, and I said, this is something I need to have in my collection because I don't know if anything like this will ever be made, mass produced. But as people know, and if you've watched my channel, Salem's Lot is my favorite film. There's not a lot of mass-produced collectibles for Salem's Lot. The only place you can really find stuff like that is through like Distinctive Dummies. That little collection I got in October of this year. You can find stuff on Etsy. This is something I found on eBay, and I'm going to put a link down below to the seller, the guy that makes these. This is something I knew I had to have in my collection, and it arrived today. So I didn't do a proper unboxing video for it, so I thought, since I'm doing my last video for the year, I thought I would showcase it. So I'm going to grab it off of my shelf. And what this is, it is a custom pop figure of Barlow, and it says Mr. Barlow. Now, I will showcase this better because I know there is some glare on it, so I will showcase it on the shelf, but this is fantastic. The box art is incredible. He did a great job on this. The painting sculpt is amazing. He even used the artwork from the waxwork release for the back of it. This was something that I had to have, and I'm so grateful that I was able to pick it up. It's more than I would ever pay for a pop, but this is something that was custom made. Completely worth it, in my opinion. So that is going to be it, my fellow fiends. I want to thank everyone for the continued support of BoogeyMan Ben's Horror Zone. I have a lot of great stuff planned for 2023. I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe new year. So take it easy. Stay scared as always. Peace. Hey fellow Fright Fiends, just want to say thank you again for supporting BoogeyMan Ben's Horror Zone. If you're brand new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification so you're updated every time I drop a new video. I typically do this once or twice a week with new content. I've been doing this for over 11 years, and the horror genre is a passion of mine, and it really means a lot to me that I can share that passion with all of you guys. Thanks so much again for the support, and I'll talk to you again later. Take it easy, stay scared as always.